Hello and welcome to the Coffee Talk, first Coffee Talk of the year for Team 10. And our Coffee Talk today is going to be all about earning credits. The next slide has all of our counselors on it for Team 10.
Hello, this is Mr. Farley. Welcome, glad to see you. Thanks for joining. So I am the sophomore counselor, last name's A through C-E-N.
Okay, and I am Mrs. Roberto. I am Team 10 counselor, GOL through Z. We have two counselors that aren't with us today on the Coffee Talk. We have Miss Say. She is a 9th grade counselor, but also helping out with 10th grade right now. Her alpha is CER through GO. And we also have Miss Gallardo, our ESOL counselor, and she has sent a little video introduction for us on the next slide.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudia Gallardo, and I am the school counselor for ELL students grades 9 through 12. ELL stands for English Language Learners. Although I work exclusively with the ELL population, I'm here for all students at Wellington High School. If you or another parent prefers to speak to a school counselor in Spanish, please feel free to reach out to me. I am here to service and help all families and students. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Claudia Gallardo. Soy la consejera académica de los estudiantes del programa de ESOL del grado 9 a 12. Aunque yo trabajo exclusivamente con los estudiantes del programa de ESOL, estoy aquí para brindar apoyo y ayuda a cualquier familia o estudiante que prefiera hablar con un consejero en español. Si usted o otro padre de familia necesita ayuda, tiene alguna inquietud, alguna pregunta o alguna preocupación acerca de su estudiante y quisiera hablar con alguien en español, por favor, tenga la confianza de dirigir cualquier pregunta a mí o puede llamar a mi oficina en cualquier momento. Yo estoy aquí para apoyar y para ayudar a todos los estudiantes en nuestro colegio. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Claudia.
Okay, we are going to just begin by letting you guys know that you are able to post a question in the chat, and we may answer them during the slide we're on if it's pertinent, or we may also answer your question by typing the answer in the chat, and we'll have questions at the end if we miss something. So basically, as a 10th grader, we're kind of at the point now where we're looking at the goal of graduation 2 years, moving forward. So what we do with our sophomores is really prepare them for the goal of graduation, and right there are the graduation requirements. It's a 24 credit and a 2.0, which is C level. So we really encourage students to not drop below that 2.0. It's minimum 20 community service hours, and we'll talk about other options if you are getting different types of diplomas and Bright Futures, and that changes. One online requirement, and again, we're going to talk more in detail about that too. A passing score on the Algebra 1 EOC, and as you probably know, the COVID from last year, we didn't have EOC, so now this year, the 10th graders are going to be required to pass Geometry EOC, and again, we'll talk more about that throughout the presentation. And passing scores on the Reading FSA or a concordant score with the SAT and ACT, and there are your scores listed there for those. Okay, the next slide is going to be more in detail of those 24 credits. You need 4 years of English. You can choose regular level English or ACE. Students need 4 maths, which must include algebra and geometry. 3 science classes, which include biology, some type of physical science, which could be chemistry, physics, or physical science, and then any science elective of their choice. 3 social studies. Right now, most sophomores are in world history or they're in an ACE history. They will be taking US history or an ACE history. And then their senior year, they take a semester of US Gov and a semester of economics. 1 PE credit, and there's options for that. The personal fitness they do need, and then the other half, the other semester credit could be a different type of physical education activity elective. And there's also some things that can change that. So we'll talk about those of different diploma types. And 1 credit of HOPE, which is a full year PE, a fine arts credit, and then any 8 electives. So that gives you the 24. Next slide. A little bit more about the community service hours, which I was talking about. If you're trying to get the Bright Futures scholarships, it's 100 hours of community service, also with the ACE diploma, one virtual course, which is the FLVS class, a class online, and we'll talk exactly how you get that. Passing state assessments, and there again is your grade 10 FSA ELA, which is coming up, our Algebra 1 EOC, and again, this year, since last year Algebra EOC was not required due to COVID, now it's going to be passing the Geometry EOC instead, and sitting and taking the Biology EOC and US History EOC. Next slide.
Yes.
And this is Mr. Farley is going to go over semester credits.
So semester credits, what does a credit look like? What is credit? What does it mean, right? So in high school, we have classes that are, not just classes, but in general, we have credits. That's how you're able to graduate. We have to get 24 credits. So semester credits are earned only for non-EOC classes passed. Like, be more specific, dual enrollment classes, may earn more credit, right? Because you would get more credit for those and also count for the college, right? So semester credits are earned twice per year, not just once. A lot of times students and parents think that, hey, I should earn a credit after my first quarter. That's not true. It has to take the first quarter and second quarter, which equals a semester, okay? So it's calculated twice per year. So for first semester, obviously it's August, and it ends, up until, January. And then second semester, when we start back up, it will actually end in June. All right. So then we'll get into GPA a little bit and how it's calculated and when it's calculated, because it's calculated twice per year. Online classes completed may earn additional credits. And will count towards your GPA. So if you've taken, maybe a student's taken a middle school, in middle school, they've taken a high school class. If they've taken a high school class in middle school, that still counts. Anytime you take a high school credit, whether it's before high school, as long as it's a high school credit class, it counts towards your GPA. So please remember that. And we'll go on to the next slide.
Okay, I just want to interrupt because we do have a question about credits. Carlos asked a question about, are each elective 1 credit already? And it depends on the course. Most classes are 1 credit, but there are those classes that are only a semester, like the economics and government, they're 0.5 credits. Some of your PEs are 0.5 credits. If they're taking an FLVS class, sometimes they're 0.5 credits. But for the most part, most of your general subject area classes are 1 credit. So that is true, but there are some exceptions to that where they're only worth half a credit, and that would be a semester course.
Yes, thank you, Miss Roberto.
Thanks.
And speaking of GPA, we have that in here too. So we have what's called cumulative GPA. So it includes everything. So all grades earned in high school, all right? Everything that's earned will calculate to your cumulative GPA. So this includes courses, like I said, for middle school and high school. So as you see right down below, cumulative GPA changes twice a year. Like I said, after the first semester. So when you're done with pretty much break, boom, there it is. There's your first semester. And then before you know it, it's going to be over, right? It's going to be Christmas before you know it. It's already the end of October. So when we come back and, obviously we're going to start another semester and it will end in June. And HPA includes it's your honors. So your honors grade point average. So it includes your honors classes and your college level courses, even AP, ACE, all those. It looks a little different, and you'll see what I mean whenever we go to the next slide. So you must have a 2.0 GPA to graduate to participate. Also, that's important. You have to have a 2.0 GPA to participate in all athletics. I've always told and I always believe student becomes before athlete. So we have to make sure that, if you're an athlete, if you have a student that's an athlete, make sure they keep that 2.0, stay on top of them, because, if they get in that probation period, if they don't meet the cutoff, they will not be able to go to any of the games or practice. And we'll go on to the next slide. Semester exams and credits. Exams, always a scary word, right? But it can help a student. Especially if they didn't score so high, maybe during the quarters, right? So, and semester in general. So these can actually help and because they're 20% of your grade. So to receive a passing grade for the semester, you have to pass 2 of the 3 grades, that are used to calculate the semester average. So final exams, like I said, are 20%. And another thing is, if the student is basically gone 10% of the time, guess what? They're forced to have to pass the final exam to earn credit. So they can have literally a B first semester or first quarter. They can have an A second quarter. But then once they take that final exam, and once they're out, past the 10% range, and they don't pass the final exam, they do not get they don't get that credit for that. So I did want to make sure to point that out. That's very important. I get a lot of questions on that. And no matter what grade you have, you got to make sure you're there. And one thing I want to point out when it comes to attendance, you miss one day, you're actually missing 2 this year. So if you miss 1, you're actually officially missing 2 days. So, and we'll continue on to the next slide from Ms. Terry.
Okay, I'll do this slide. This one is about earning credits for classes that have an EOC. Again, it's a little bit different because that EOC is 30%. So you won't see a grade posted on the semester report card because it's a long course, a year-long course. So you get the full credit after completing the entire course and taking the EOC, and there are our EOC classes listed there. So that's why sometimes at the semester, a student will be like, well, why didn't I get a grade for biology? Well, it's a full year course, so you won't see the grade till the end. And again, if they took biology last year, they got waived from taking the EOC, and we'll talk a little bit more about some questions on if you have to go back and do it, but that's coming up on some other slides. But basically, it's a little bit different with the EOC full year courses. Okay, let's go forward. This is basically talking about what I was saying with if you have to go back and make up any of those EOCs from last year. The only time you would need to do that is if you want the scholar diploma designation. It basically means that you have to show rigor and you have to pass all EOCs unless you're in AP or ACE biology or US history courses. So what the scholarly diploma designation is it's a gold sticker that you get on your diploma. So if there's students that are 10th graders this year and they took bio last year and they took algebra last year and they didn't sit for the EOCs, they were waived. So technically they don't have to do that for graduation, but they would have to do that if they want that scholarly gold sticker on their diploma. So that's the only time for our 10th graders to have to do any makeups if they want the sticker on their diploma. Otherwise, they're good. The scholarly diploma is just a sticker on the diploma. It doesn't show up on transcripts. And again, that EOC exam counts for 30% of your final grade. And only algebra needs to be passed with a certain score. But again, it is now geometry for our 10th graders that will have to be passed with that 340. So it's going to take the place of algebra since last year Algebra 1 was waived. Okay, Mr. Farley's going to talk to us about GPA and quality points.
Yeah, so regular level courses on a 4-point scale, right? So if you get an A on normal classes that are not honors, so they're on a 4-point scale. Anything that's not honors is on a 4-point scale. So if you have an A, it's on a 4.0, B 3.0, and so forth, C 2.0, right? So when you are taking your honors level courses, they are on a 4.5 point scale. All right, they're on a 4.5 scale. And as you see there, it continues, you can see it listed. And this will also be posted in the Google Classroom for the sophomores. So that way you can come back and kind of see everything, hear everything, and see what we're talking about even more. And that way you can, remember everything. But on the honors level courses, it is on a 4.5 scale, A 4.5, B 3.375, or 2.25, and so forth. As you see right there listed, it's kind of like blends into the background a little bit. ACE, the college level courses, AP exams, or not just exams when you complete the class. It's on a 6-point scale. And as you see, 6.0, if you have straight A, 4.5 on a B, 3 for a C, 1.5 for a D. So if, let's just say, for instance, I want to give a scenario because it happens sometimes. If you're taking ACE journal papers, as a freshman, you move to ACE Lang, right? You take ACE Lang. You might have 3 ACE classes, but if there's one class in ACE that, or two, that student is just not doing, like they're doing very good, I would rather have a meeting and talk about that soon and see about some changes, because that GPA can hurt you if you're taking those ACE classes and you're not doing so well. So you want to make sure that you're on a correct level for sure. So, and we'll go on to the next slide.
Okay, there is a question I'm going to answer about the PSAT. There is going to be a retake in January. We don't have the exact date of that test, but as soon as our testing coordinator, Ms. Pereira, finds that date, you will be notified. But there will be one in January. I just don't know the exact date today.
Perfect. And then I want to talk about grade forgiveness. This is something that can definitely help and kind of save a situation. So students who may, here's the thing, and I want to say this as clear as I can. So students may repeat a course. If taken 9 through 12, right, you can do what's called grade forgiveness. So you can only do grade forgiveness if the student gets a D or an F. Now, if you were if the student was in middle school, you can actually do grade forgiveness even if you had a C or below, obviously, D or an F. But in high school, if you have a C or higher, you can't do grade forgiveness. So what is grade forgiveness? What does it look like? Well, if you're in middle school and you got a C, basically, we can sign you up for a program where you can make up and take that course again. And if you got a B on it, then we would change that grade, right? It will still show up on your transcript as a C if that's what you got in middle school. But once you do the grade forgiveness, then obviously, say you got a B in our course, right, in our program, then we'll put the B, the new grade in there that they earned. That will count as towards the GPA, not that C. In high school, same thing. If you failed a class, you got a D or an F. You do grade forgiveness. So whatever you earn, that D or F may show on your transcript. However, it does not count towards your GPA whenever it goes towards whenever you get your new grade, A, B, or whatever it may be. So you can only do grade forgiveness for anything D or F in high school. Just want to make sure you guys know that. And we do it in different ways. We have what's called NC Study Hall through Edgenuity, where we actually schedule kids in classes. That's normally for mostly seniors, so we can make sure they're in those classes to get them done. We also have, I think, maybe a couple juniors in those courses as well. But we mainly try to do what's called co-enrolled with Mr. Romano. And basically, and you may have got an email already if your student had a D or an F, especially an F, you probably got an email for that. And it's to offer to get it in our co-enroll program with Mr. Romano. So what it is it's like a credit recovery, basically, right? We want to take that D or F and change it and put you actually got to earn it. We don't just change it, right? We got to earn the grade. Student has to earn a grade, and then we submit everything so that way it's calculated towards your GPA with a better grade. And that way we can get that grade forgiveness. The co-enroll is not during school. It is after school. It is through distance learning, and you'll get a link to the class, and you can start on your on your own schedule at your own time after school. So that way you can make it up. And we'll go on to the next slide.
I want to chime in a little bit about that credit recovery option, because that's what we do as 10th grade counselors. We try to catch those fails and get you on track right away. Right now, the co-enrolled is all virtual, so you don't have to stay after school and go into the lab. You can do it at home. You can, once you're enrolled, you could work on it on a Saturday. Everything's open. You can really get them completed quickly. So if your student is one of those that happened to fail something last year, a core class, it's for cores, math, English, science, social studies that are needed to graduate. That's something that in PE, that is something that we would want to put into place as soon as possible so they can start working on that and get on track, because we want them to leave 10th grade being on track, right? So if they're not on track from last year, 10th grade's kind of the year. Let's catch that. Let's get them on track. And co-enrolled right now is a perfect, easy way to make up those Fs. So if you know your student failed something and you haven't reached out to us or got an email, please email us so we can set that up for them.
Yes, thank you very much. And like I mentioned before, this is repetitive. I know I already kind of talked ahead. Just to reiterate, D's and F will remain on the transcript. I said it before, and I get questions from students. They're like, hey, I had a D. It's on my transcript still, but yes, but it's not counted towards your GPA. So, but if you end up going through the course, right, for the grade forgiveness and you do get a D or F, that will count and will be calculated in your GPA. So and the E2020, that we do, it does not count for the NCAA. So if you're in a sport, your student plans on playing a sport, even like in college or whatever, no matter what sport it is, do not this whole credit recovery with the whole E2020 ingenuity. You gotta stay away from that, especially if you're Division I or II. So I did want to mention that. So we'll go on to the next slide. Okay. All right. So FLVS. All right, we're going to talk about FLVS. Let's see. I think this was. See if I can read. Yeah, there we go. My computer went out for a second. So FLVS, for the learning virtual school. So we have an online requirement. All right, you got to have that online requirement in order to graduate. So you have to complete a course on FLVS to graduate. So there's a thing. There's a program, another platform. It's the Palm Beach Virtual. I highly recommend, if you're doing the online class, if it's offered through Palm Beach Virtual, take it, because it's so much smoother. It's a smoother process because whenever you finish the class, as soon as you finish that class, boom, it gets on the student's transcript, pretty much right away. And FLVS, it takes a while, and there's always things here and there that happens. But if there's not the class you want on Palm Beach Virtual on that franchise, then you can choose a course on FLVS, and then we will make sure to enter the grades accordingly. So to get the online requirement, to get credit, you must complete the full course, no matter if it's 0.5 credit or just a 1 credit class. So if you have a class and you pass that half credit class, there it is. That's the main thing. You want to complete the class. All right. So if there's a level A and B or 1 and 2, take it both. If it only requires that half credit, complete it. There's your online requirement. And we do have FLVS exemptions, right? So digital infotech is a course, right? Digital infotech is a course. It's a great course. It's pretty much it's Microsoft Office, and you don't have to meet your online requirement if you take that course, and if you pass your industry certification exam, or if you get your Microsoft Office specialist certificate. I mean, those are great to have. Also, computer fundamentals, passing the IC, the Internet Business Associate exam, boom, there it is right there. And of course, this is the main thing that a lot of kids ask is, if I'm doing ACE, am I exempted? Am I going to be exempt from the online requirement? Yes. You have to get your ACE diploma, right? You got to take your 7 courses in ACE within a 3-year period. And once you do that, then at the end, you will see that it is waived, such as also PE as well, if you take ACE. So I wanted to mention that too. And we'll go on to the next slide.
Okay, there was a question in the chat about drivers. I'm pretty sure Ms. Gutierrez means driver's education. Yes, that could be taken on FLVS, and it's a semester course. That would count for the FLVS requirement.
I believe that's on Palm Beach Virtual too.
Yes, I think so.
I would definitely do Palm Beach Virtual. It's also teachers that's in the district teaching those courses on Palm Beach Virtual, so highly recommended.
Yeah, it's one of the common ones that students take because it's quick and fast and easy, and they can use that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the ACE diploma. There's a lot of things about ACE. If that's something that you're doing, you probably have heard about ACE. Your students doing it, you know about the requirements. Or if it's something that you're considering doing, it's something that you would want to talk over with your counselor, your teachers. But this is just kind of an overview of what is ACE. We use this acronym, and if you're not familiar with it, you might not understand. But it's through the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom, and it's a highly sought after 5 universities, top 5 universities in the world. It's used all over the world. And we have it set up here at Wellington, so you can kind of, once you get on track for ACE by taking the first intro class, which is ACE General Paper, which is on the English track, It opens up the world of ACE to you. So you have 3 years to get 7 courses and pass those exams, which are at that 6.5 scale because it's a college level program. And there's a whole bunch of information on our Wellington High School page and on our Team 10 classroom all about ACE and what that can give you. The ACE diploma, again, helps you with your Bright Future Scholarship Award. It waives some of the requirements for the Gen Ed diploma, like the fine arts and the PE and the FLVS, but it's very rigorous. It's like being in college. So, it's something that you'd want to have a conversation about. Maybe most students do start out with their English teacher, identifying them to be ready to take ACE Gen, and then see what other courses in the subject areas that they can take. So it's a great program. We have so many courses here at Wellington for that. And if you have more questions, that would be making an appointment with your counselor, a phone call, so we can see how we can set up your student for that program.
And then we had a question right here that they were asking, do we have an ACE class for U.S. history? We do have a ACE U.S. history available here at our school. So yes, we do, definitely.
Hmm. Okay, some other things that start coming up with our sophomores is other options as you move from a freshman to a sophomore. Even some freshmen have dual enrolled, but it usually starts happening around 10th grade. What dual enrollment is it's earning college credits while still in high school, but there's some requirements in order for you to be able to dual enroll. And the first one is that you must have a 3.0 GPA and you must have college-ready scores. So Palm Beach State was accepting PSAT because of COVID. A lot of students didn't get to take other tests. So I think that's still standing now for using PSAT scores, SAT scores, or ACT scores, or you can take the PERT at Palm Beach State. So you have to show you're college ready in those ways. The thing about dual enrollment is it is opening up the college transcript. So you don't want to do this unless your student's ready. The good thing about it is the courses are free. The textbooks are free. It counts for high school grades and college grades. And there's your requirements again. The thing about dual enrollment is there is a little paperwork involved. It does require, to meet with a counselor, go over what courses that you want to take, make sure that it can fit into your schedule. It's just like taking ACE. It's a 6.5 college scale. But you would take the classes at Palm Beach State. We also partner with FAU. There are some other students that have, done it at other colleges, but Palm Beach State is our big one for dual enrollment. And you can meet with a college admission counselor that will kind of help you look at options. There's options of, getting most or all of your AA degree done while still in high school. So there's some benefits of that. And there's all different reasons for why or why not to dual enroll. And that would be something that you would want to sit down with the counselor and look at, why the student wants to dual enroll, how that would look. But it's another great option and something to start thinking about. Next slide. And here's last year is our admissions requirements for Florida schools. We do have an updated 2021. It is on the Google or Team 10 Classroom, but it was so small. I tried to put it on this presentation, and it just really was hard to read. So it hasn't changed that much. But this is something to share with your student, and I share it with my students all the time when they come in and ask about, what should I do? I say, well, where do you think you might want to go to school? And they're like, oh, I want to go to UF. Okay, well, let's take a look at what you would need to get there, right? So this is a motivator. It's also a reality check for some students that, aren't achieving what they need to. And when they really look at, even getting into FAU, it's a pretty, it's a rigorous curriculum, and you have to have a GPA and you have to have test scores and you have to be on track. So this is a good motivator for your students. And I like to kind of show them what they would have to do to get where they need to go. So that's just kind of a overview of college requirements. And that is all we have. Let me make sure there's no more questions. We want to thank you for attending our first coffee talk. And you can visit, again, the Team 10 Google Classroom. All sophomores have been invited to the classroom and should know about it. If not, you can email me or you can have them join. There's the class code. The classwork tab has all of this information. So if you go to the top of the page, when you get there, click on classwork, then on the left, all these different tabs will open up: dual enrollment, FLVS, all kinds of information. And you can also go to the Wellington High School homepage. And our next coffee talk is going to be in November. We will send you that date and time, probably around noon or similar time. And that is going to be talking about learning in a virtual age and emotional health. So it should be really interesting and kind of help those students that are 100% remote.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Thank you so much again. And I don't see any other questions at this time. But if you do have any questions, you have our email, and be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have, for sure. So that way we're all here together, right? We're all in this together. So thank you again. Bye, guys.